Good evening. Welcome to Loveworld USA News. I'm Barbara Sam. First, a quick look at the top stories this evening. President Trump to speak with President Putin on Tuesday as he pushes for end to Ukraine war. Democrats criticize Schumer's support for GOP spending bill to avoid shutdown. President Trump challenges legitimacy of Biden's pardon, citing use of auto pen. Forever 21 files for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. Taiwan revokes visa of pro-Beijing Chinese influencer amid rising tensions. And now to the news. President Donald Trump has announced that he will be speaking with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday as part of his efforts to end the ongoing war in Ukraine. Trump shared the details of the upcoming conversation with reporters aboard Air Force One as he flew from Florida back to Washington. This conversation marks a pivotal moment in the conflict and offers Trump a chance to reshape U.S. foreign policy, especially given his controversial relationship with Putin and his hardline stance towards Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. European allies have expressed concern about Trump's approach, especially after his criticism of Zelensky during a visit to the White House earlier this month. While Russia failed in its initial goal of toppling Ukraine during its invasion 3 years ago, it still holds significant portions of Ukrainian territory. Trump suggested that discussions would focus on key issues such as land and power plants as part of the process to end the conflict. Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, recently traveled to Moscow to facilitate the ongoing negotiations. Witkoff had previously confirmed that the call between Trump and Putin was imminent. In addition to his diplomatic efforts on Ukraine, Trump reaffirmed his plan to move forward with a new round of tariffs set to take effect on April 2nd, despite recent stock market disruptions and concerns about the economic impact. Watch this.
Nice to see you all. Likewise. Congratulations on the golf game, sir.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of fun. It's good. It's been a good time. And we learned a lot. We're doing pretty well, I think, with Russia. And we'll see if we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday. And a lot of work's been done over the weekend. We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance.
What sort of concessions will you be seeking to have Putin make to get a deal done?
Well, I think we'll, be talking about land. It's a lot of land. It's a lot different than it was before the war, as you know. And we'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants, because that's up, that's a big question. But I think we have a lot of it already discussed very much by both sides.
You'll ask him.
Ukraine and Russia.
You'll ask him.
We're already talking about that, dividing up certain assets. Yeah, and they've been working on that.
Democratic leaders and party members have been sharply critical of Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer for his support of a Republican-backed spending bill aimed at avoiding a government shutdown. His decision has sparked significant backlash, with many accusing him of abandoning party principles and undermining the Democratic agenda. On Friday, Schumer announced that he would vote in favor of the measure despite numerous objections from his party regarding the contents of the bill. He argued that a government shutdown will be a gift to President Donald Trump and ultimately supported the bill to avoid the negative consequences of a funding lapse. However, Schumer's move quickly drew the ire of several Democratic responses, who viewed it as a failure of leadership. The spending bill was passed with a vote of 54-46, with nearly all Republicans supporting the measure, along with the Schumer and 10 other Democrats. However, Schumer's support for the bill is causing division within the Democratic caucus, and some members privately suggesting that Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez may challenge Schumer in a primary. The fallout from Schumer's support for the GOP spending underscores the growing divisions within the Democratic Party and the party struggles with its direction and leadership. Some members are calling for stronger resistance to Republican policies, while others, like Schumer, are seeking pragmatic solutions to avoid a shutdown and the potential public and political fallout. President Donald Trump has declared that the pardons issued by former President Joe Biden may be void, alleging they were signed using auto pen without Biden's direct approval. The claim, made a Truth Social post, specifically targets the pardons of lawmakers who served on the January 6 House Select Committee, along with others, asserting that Biden was unaware of the documents being signed on his behalf. The pardons that Sleepy Joe Biden gave to the unselected committee of political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect, Trump wrote. President Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. The necessary pardon documents were not explained to or approved by Biden. He further suggested that those who orchestrated the pardons may have committed a crime. While traveling aboard Air Force One on Sunday night, the president was asked whether executive orders and pardons signed with an auto pen should be considered invalid. "I think so," he responded, and added that it would ultimately be up to the court to decide. The controversy follows a report by the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project, which claimed that Biden's signature on most official documents throughout his presidency was identical, implying heavy reliance on an auto pen rather than personal authorization. The issue of Biden's use of an auto pen gained traction after the Oversight Project analyzed numerous presidential documents and found that all but one bore the same machine-generated signature. This has fueled concerns about who was truly in control of the White House during President Biden's final months in office. President Biden has announced on January 20th, the day of his departure, that he was issuing pardons for General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, members of the January 6 committee, and police officers who testified before the committee. In his statement, Biden defended his decision, asserting that these public servants have served our nation with honor and distinction and do not deserve to be the targets of unjustified and political motivation prosecutions. With President Trump now questioning the legality of these pardons, the matter is expected to face intense legal scrutiny. If challenged in court, it could set a historic precedent regarding the use of an auto pen for presidential actions and whether such signatures hold the same legal weight as those personally signed by sitting president. Watch this.
The president's post overnight saying that the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by auto pen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his illegal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon?
The news will be back after this break.
44 now, and new this morning, we are learning the popular clothing store Forever 21 is filing for bankruptcy again. This marks the second time in 6 years the retailer has faced financial trouble as it struggles with.
Alpha TV, the higher life is here. Watch your favorite movies.
Hi, Dimitri.
Kiddie shows, live TV channels, and many more. Anywhere, anytime on your device, with a unique emphasis on faith-based and family-oriented programming. Alpha TV is the place which points you to the higher life. Gain access to myriads of language channels available to family, friends, and loved ones in their native tongue.
Avete mai sentito dei cristiani che pregano grazie Padre dopo che hanno pregato per aver risposto a queste preghiere mediante Gesù Cristo nostro Signore? Amen.
Get this amazing entertainment on the Loveworld App Store, the Google Play Store, and the Apple Store, and begin to live the higher life. Watch Alpha TV in just 4 easy steps. Step 1, select your package. Step 2, create your login details. Step 3, set up your payment. Step 4, start watching. It's simpler than you think with more perks than you can imagine. Explore the latest news on LN24 International, Bible classics, language-specific stations, and so much more. Get Alpha TV. Watch now. The higher life is here.
Trendy and affordable fashion brand Forever 21 has filed for bankruptcy protection in the United States, signaling a major shift for the company that could lead to a complete shutdown of its operations in the country. Despite the bankruptcy filing, Forever 21 confirmed that its U.S. stores and website will remain operational as the company begins its winding down process. The brand, which was once a staple for young women globally, has faced significant challenges in recent years, struggling to compete with rising prices and the growing dominance of online shopping. Once a leading player in the fast fashion industry, Forever 21 found itself increasingly overshadowed by foreign competitors, contributing to its decline. Forever 21's financial troubles aren't new. The company first filed for bankruptcy protection in 2019. However, it was purchased by a group of investors through a joint venture. Despite efforts to turn the company around, Forever 21 has now acknowledged that it had been unable to secure a viable path forward. In a statement, CFO Brad Shell explained that the company faced mounting competition from fast fashion giants, along with the pressures of rising costs and economic challenges that affected its core customer base. The company plans to conduct liquidation sales at its U.S. stores, and some or all of its assets could be sold in a court-supervised process. However, it remains open to the possibility of a sale that could allow it to pivot away from shutting down completely. Under Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, Forever 21 has temporarily halted its obligations to creditors, allowing it time to restructure its debt and explore options like selling parts of its business. Notably, Forever 21's international operations remain unaffected by the bankruptcy filing. Its shops and e-commerce platforms outside the U.S. are run by independent licensees and will continue as usual. Let's take a look.
For Now and New this morning, we are learning the popular clothing store Forever 21 is filing for bankruptcy again. This marks the second time in 6 years the retailer has faced financial trouble as it struggles with declining mall traffic and online competition. The company says it plans to liquidate its U.S. stores while looking for a buyer. But for now, Forever 21's stores and websites remain open. There are 13 stores across the Carolinas, including in Pineville, Concord, and Charlotte.
General Motors, GM, has issued a recall for more than 90,000 vehicles due to a transmission control valve issue that could potentially cause the wheels to lock up, posing a safety risk to drivers. The recall affects vehicles with 10-speed transmissions, and the problem stems from transmission control valves that may wear excessively over time, leading to a loss of pressure within the valve. This can cause harsh shifting in the transmission, and in rare cases, the wheel may experience a monetary or momentum lockup, which increases the risk of a crash, according to the National Highway Safety Administration, known as the NHTSA. The affected models include the 2020 through 2021 Cadillac CT4, the 2020 through 2021 Cadillac CT5, the 2019 through 2020 Cadillac CT6, and the 2020 through 2022 Chevrolet Camaro. The recall impacts a total of 90,000 vehicles and an estimated 1% of those vehicles possibly experiencing the defect. The NHTSA first became aware of the issue in September when a driver of a 2021 Cadillac CT5 reported that the vehicle's front tires had locked up. Initially, GM had investigated the issue and concluded that the lockups, which typically lasted less than 150 milliseconds, did not pose a significant risk to vehicle control, especially since no related accidents or injuries had been reported. As a result, the investigation was closed. However, in November, GM reopened the probe after receiving 115 additional reports of wheel lockups, one of which led to an accident. Watch this.
Cadillac or maybe a Chevy Camaro, General Motors recalling more than 90,000 cars, all due to a transmission issue that could lock your front wheels while you're driving. Yeah, that'd be dangerous. If you are one of those owners, the company should let you know by next month. Dealers will fix that issue for free.
At the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, global telecom companies have showcased their efforts to shift from being more data conduits to powerful tech-driven entities. A growing trend in the industry is the transformation of telecoms into techcos. Telcos that evolve into tech companies leveraging next-generation 5G and 6G networks, artificial intelligence, AI, satellite internet, and innovations like smart cities. Many telecom operations no longer satisfied with being seen merely as dumb pipes, just transmitting data. As Haytham Dawader, CEO of UAE state-owned teleco, put at a conference, a lot of telecos around the world are reduced to being a pipe of packets just getting data across the networks. The ultimate ambition for many telecom companies is to operate more like tech companies, offering cutting-edge technology solutions and digital services to consumers. With AI being a core component of this transformation, CEOs at the event highlighted AI's role in making their networks more efficient and pushing the boundaries of what telecoms can offer. Telecom leaders also discussed groundbreaking projects aimed at shaping the future of cities and connectivity. In this evolving landscape, the term techcos has gained momentum. A fusion of telco and tech, it represents the broader industry shift towards becoming more than just connectivity providers, but full-fledged tech platforms offering diversified digital services to meet the demands of the modern world. The news continues after this break. Stay with us.
It has only been 44 days, but the president will have a lot to talk about tonight when he heads up to Capitol Hill to address a joint...
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America.
Inaugurate a new president and vice president.
From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back. Our spirit is back. Our pride is back. Members of Congress, and to my fellow citizens, America is back. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. Every day my administration is fighting to bring a future that America deserves. We are draining the swamp, and the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. Despite the best efforts of those who will try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Welcome back. Taiwan has revoked the visa of a pro-Beijing Chinese influencer, requiring her to leave the island by March 24th or face deportation. The decision follows a series of videos she posted supporting China's claim over Taiwan, sparking outrage in the island's government. The influencer, identified as Lu, known as Yaya on social media, has moved to Taiwan from mainland China on a dependent visa after marrying a Taiwanese man. Lu regularly shared videos on the Chinese equivalent of TikTok, Douyin, in which she referred to Taiwan as the Taiwan province and promoted China's narrative that Taiwan is an inseparable part of China. Taiwan's National Immigration Agency, NIA, stated that Lu's actions were advocating the elimination of Taiwan's sovereignty, which is unacceptable in Taiwanese society. The agency confirmed that Lu is required to leave by the set deadline or face deportation. Additionally, she would be prohibited from applying for a new dependent visa for the next 5 years. Lu has a substantial following on social media with nearly 480,000 followers, posted several videos suggesting that the unification of Taiwan and China was inevitable. In one, she claimed the complete unification of the motherland is a necessity, regardless of what the Taiwanese people want, and remarked that peaceful unification is much harder than unification by force. Her comments have been widely condemned by Taiwan's leaders, with Interior Minister Liu Shai-fang asserting that freedom of speech cannot be used as a justification for advocating for an invasion of Taiwan. In response to mounting criticism, Liu defended her stance, stating in a February post that she was simply trying to bridge divides and promote understanding between both sides. She stated that those pushing for Taiwan's independence were causing harm to Taiwanese society. Let's take a look.
Taiwan is part of China's territory. The whole world acknowledges that Taiwan is China's territory. There are no more reasons needed to justify reunification through military force.
The Chinese internet celebrity who lives in Taiwan on a dependent-based residence permit posted a video advocating Taiwan's annexation to China through military means.
In a cross-strait war, if mainland China were merciless to its fellow compatriots and fought to death, Taiwan would be in ruins within half an hour.
The comments were reported to the National Immigration Agency, which revoked her residence permit in accordance with the law. The influencer will be banned from applying for a family-based residence permit in the next 5 years. Yaya in Taiwan says her freedom of speech is being infringed upon.
I have my own opinions. On major media outlets, we see public figures in Taiwan talk every day about the People's Liberation Army and so on. They can share their opinions on public channels, so why can't I express my opinions? Where is Taiwan's so-called freedom of speech? Freedom of speech is not a gift that falls from the sky, and it does not grant you the right to publicly call for unification via force or for a military invasion of Taiwan. The influencer's case is being handled in accordance with the Cross-Strait Relations Act. This is something we all understand in Taiwanese society. If you cross the line of freedom of speech to the point of breaking the law, you will be dealt with in accordance with the law.
The Minister of the Interior says that freedom of speech did not extend to advocating for Taiwan's military annexation. She says the influencer's case is being handled.
A 61-year-old man, Peruvian fisherman Maximo Napa Castro, has been rescued after spending 91 days lost at sea in the Pacific Ocean. During his ordeal, he survived by eating turtles, birds, and cockroaches and drinking rainwater. Maximo has set out on what was meant to be a 2-week fishing trip from the coastal town of Marcona on December 7th of 2024. However, just 10 days into his journey, a storm blew his boat off course, leaving him stranded without enough food and water. Despite his family's desperate search, Peru's maritime patrols were unable to locate him. It wasn't until Wednesday, nearly 3 months later, that the Ecuadorian patrol vessel Dawn F found Maximo 1,094 kilometers, which is 680 miles off the coast, in a severely dehydrated and critical condition. Maximo survived by catching rainwater and eating anything he could find. In a touching reunion with his brother in Patia, near the Ecuadorian border, Maximo shared the harrowing details of his survival. His journey involved consuming birds, cockroaches, and eventually sea turtles. In the final 15 days, he had nothing to eat. His thoughts of family, particularly his 2-month-old granddaughter, provided him with the strength to hold on. His mother, Elena, said that while her family had stayed hopeful during his disappearance, she had begun to lose faith. After being rescued, Maximo was taken to Patia for a medical evaluation before being flown to Lima, Peru's capital. There, he was met by his daughter, Inez Napa, who had welcomed him home with tears and a bottle of Peru's national drink, Pisco. Just before we end the news, a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And to end the news today, a quick recap of the headlines. President Trump to speak with President Putin on Tuesday as he pushes for end to Ukraine war. Democrats criticize Schumer's support for GOP spending bill to avoid shutdown. President Trump challenges legitimacy of Biden's pardons, citing use of auto pen. Forever 21 files for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. Taiwan revokes visa of pro-Beijing Chinese influencer amid rising tensions. And that's the news for today. Join us at the same time tomorrow for more news. I'm Barbara Sam. Good night and God bless you.